Super excited to be here. Thanks, James. The Swiki, that's funny. So hi everyone. So my slides are up. So I am here to talk about DevOps and using DevOps with .NET MAUI apps, and we're going to talk about how to use that with GitHub Actions and with Azure DevOps. But just like a few minutes ago, I was looking at my slide titles, and then I was reading this conversation on Twitter, and I was like, this is what I should have actually named my talk. Let's help David help me get Legos. Because again, he talked about this amazing sample he worked on today, but guess what he did not do? Didn't put in a build pipeline. And then he's asking people, hey, is Android working? Hey, is iOS working? So let's sort of switch our perspective a little as we go through content today and be like, hey, David, this is how you could have added build pipelines to your app. So, all right, so let's go up first off to the basics. So when anyone ever asks me about, hey, how do I get started with anything with DevOps, right? So when it comes to DevOps and .NET MAUI, this is what my sort of quick TLDR rundown of how to pick your, how to get started basically. So first off, pick whichever DevOps system you like. GitHub Actions comes with GitHub Actions. There's Azure DevOps. If you don't want to do any of that, if you have a build machine, like a local machine on your desk, under your desk, in your closet, bring it out, set it up. If you can run .NET Build, so clone your repo on it. If you can run .NET Build on your local machine, hey, that's a build machine for you. After you can run .NET Build, you want to make sure you're able to do .NET workload install, just so you know you're able to keep it up to date. But fun fact now, I should have probably removed the preview office, but if you have a Windows machine, you don't even need to go into the nitty-gritty CLI stuff. If you have Visual Studio running on your machine, hey, you're good to go. You can start, using that as a local DevOps machine. So don't even need to get into, hey, how does this even work on, like, how do I configure a VM and stuff like that. But if you are looking at GitHub Actions on Azure DevOps, this is my favorite website. I literally have this bookmarked. So there is this. That was the first link on my slide, and I'll be sharing all the links out. So this is basically the GitHub images that are available to you as of today. And when you are picking an image, you'll be like, why is this important? Why do I bookmark this? Because I can click into this and it'll show me a full list of every single software that's installed and the version of that installed. This is amazing because this is usually where you get stuck in the nitty gritty figuring out, hey, what's available, what's not, which version of Xcode does it have, which version of Android tools does it have. So this link is like where I usually go to. Same thing for Azure DevOps. They have a similar link where you can go and look at this table and it'll tell you, okay, this is the machines that we have and what is installed in these machines, you ask. Hey, let's go in and look. You can go see a whole list of every single thing that's installed, which version is installed, including fun stuff like the Xamarin bundles. And then in that same doc that I was in, there's a section right below that even gives you like so this is going to be me awkwardly finding the question for you, but essentially it will even explain to you that, hey, if you're trying to like pin your machine or pin the VM image to a particular version of Xamarin, this is how you gotta do it. Just pick the script number, put it in there, and boom, it's gonna set it up for you. So this whole section over here under Xamarin, so this was for Xamarin, but we're talking MAUI, but I'm just letting you know, this is my favorite page in the whole wide world because it has all this good stuff in it. So pin this, makes your life really easy when it comes to, hey, how do I get started? Hey, what environments do I pick? And like I was talking about, if you're self-hosting, hey, just follow the wiki that helps you set your Mac up. Or for Windows, don't even need the public preview anymore. You can just use Visual Studio 2022, and that's your environment setup. So next thing, when it comes to anything with Apple, Android, Windows, if you're distributing any sort of app, you obviously need to make sure you have all so I call them secret files, but essentially these are all of your encrypted signing files. So we have guides that walk you through all of them. They explain how to even set this up. Like if you're doing it for GitHub, if you're doing it for Azure DevOps, they'll explain to you like, hey, this is how you get those files. This is how you like make them available to your build pipelines. GitHub Actions, I put that in a little box because GitHub Actions is a little tricky. It involves you having to encrypt it in a base 64. And if you're uncomfortable with doing all that kind of stuff, there are two community tasks called Apple Actions that make your life a little easier. So you can look at that if that's what you're comfortable with. You don't have to go around sort of, encrypting those things on your own, putting it in the secrets, and, vice versa. So whatever you feel most comfortable with, there's what I'm trying to say is there are options, number one, and there are detailed documentation for each of those options. All right. So let's talk about a DevOps pipeline, right? So for a .NET MAUI, what does a DevOps pipeline even look like? So it's basically just these steps. And this is a very basic high-level version of a pipeline. Of course, you will be, adding tasks and steps in this based on how complicated or what your pipeline is doing. But in the bare minimum, you'll be setting up the .NET version. You'll be making sure the workloads are installed. And depending on if it's like, if you're not doing your release, you don't have to, most cases don't need that signing files installation step. If you are doing a release, you want to install all your signing and your bundling files, so your certificates are installed, your provisioning profile is installed, your cert for Windows distribution is installed. So you have all that set up. The next is, of course, building and publishing the app. So .NET Build, .NET Publish, you're doing it for your target frameworks. You're generating all your binaries. You have all the binaries. Let's upload them so you can share it. So this is pretty usual. I put a blog post out a while ago that sort of walks through in detail exactly what each of these steps look like for a .NET MAUI app. And this was actually specifically for the Weather 21 sample, which again, David, hello, but it's already in there. And so you can see how that works. For today, I wanted to talk a little bit about a different task that you could add. There's something I did not cover in detail in the blog post, that was running unit tests. It's an important step, and it also can 100% be done following the exact same baseline that we've been talking about the whole time. Is it runs on .NET, we can do it. So what am I even talking about, right? So let me explain what we're talking about here. So the pipelines that we have right now, like I said, it's part of the Weather 21 sample app demo. If you click in, you can see. So let's look at the GitHub actions that we have, right? So for the Mac OS, when you come in, all those steps that I was talking about, they're all in here. We're setting up the .NET version. We are getting the .NET MAUI workloads. We are doing a restore and build of the Mac Catalyst app over here. Then we're publishing the artifacts. You see, I have like the build and run unit test step in here, but it's commented out, right? So we'll come back to that in a little bit. And if you notice the pipelines right now, they do two different build agents. So this is what a completed, so this is on Windows. So look, there's two different build agents, and same thing on Mac. There's two different build agents for the different targets. I saw a couple of questions and people keep asking me this, hey, how do I optimize my build time? Very easy. The way these pipelines are set up, it's a very starter pipeline, is to help you understand every single small step. If you're looking to optimize your pipelines, it's really straightforward. These first few steps are the same. All you want to do is have this set up once in one same build agent. Just throw in all your .NET Publish, .NET Build steps for each target framework down here. You'll get all of the artifacts published out to the bin object directory. Just pull it out from there. That's it. You might need to just add in the extra steps to install, your certificates, depending on whichever platform you're targeting. But you can always combine all these into one. So you won't get a pretty looking, UI situation like this, but it really doesn't matter. If all you want is an optimized, faster build time, you can put all your steps into one. Saves you time, saves you minutes. Look, I mean, it works the same. It works great. Same process in Azure DevOps. So let me switch back to what our Azure DevOps pipeline looks like right now. So we have Azure DevOps pipeline. And again, you have a Mac agent one and a Windows agent one. Let's look at the Windows agent one this time, right? So same process, you'll see. We are setting the .NET version. We are installing the MAUI workloads. We do a restore. You can also actually put this into your build step. I just, again, wanted to make this as a learning opportunity. So I broke up all the steps so you understand every single process of what's happening. But you can always combine these tasks into one if you're looking to optimize your flows. So there's .NET Build here for Android, then I could throw in a .NET Build Net 6 Windows. Whatever other target platforms I want to do, you can put it into one. You don't have to actually, break them up into different stages. So this is what we have right now, and this is what it translates to, right? So in your build pipelines, it looks all pretty and beautiful. And, I come in here, I have my, hey, look at my little published app over here. And I'm all the way down this beautiful path and almost there. There we go. There's a little MSIX. Okay, so again, very simple. This is how we have it set up right now. But again, if we quickly go back to pipeline, did I come? Oh, haha. I didn't even comment it out here, but I'm pretty sure I commented it out in the Mac one. Did I? Did I not? Well, I didn't even add a step to run unit tests over here, which if you all know me, I love my unit tests. I love testing. And it kind of hurt me a little bit that, hey, I didn't actually implement and show everyone what does unit testing, what does it even look like as part of, .NET MAUI. So let's talk a little bit about testing, right? What options do we even have right now? So if you're like me, you just want to stick to the classic NUnit, make an NUnit project. All you got to do same process, .NET Build, put the path to the CS proj to your tests, and run .NET Test. And then I put in the logger because I wanted it to come out in the TRX test results. Why I did this, we will see in just a second. But of course, like I said, I'm not playing favorites. Everything is available to you. All the options are there for you to use. So if you don't want to do NUnit, you can do XUnit, you can do MS Test, whatever project type, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you're used to using. So, all right, so let's see what that looks like. So first off, let me show you. So this is Weather 21 again. And I was like, hey, I'm going to move this data service into its own like sort of little project. So this is a NetSec library project because I wanted to unit test the data service as, one should. So for the purposes of this demo, we have just a dummy test that here just always passes. There's a dummy test here that always fails because I don't like demos that always show like tests passing. I want to also see what the UI looks like and am I able to look at like the test failure results. That's actually the more valuable information here. And we have the actual weather test service here. I have set this up. This is a NUnit test, right? But just to show you guys that I'm not messing around when I say you can use .NET Test with whatever flavor of a test project you want. So I have this set up for C# and tests, and we have MS Test project here, and we have XUnit project test project here as well. Let's add it, right? Let's see what it does. So I'm going to name this MS Test project so we know what this one is. Okay, let's create this. All right, and while it's resolving its dependencies, I'm also going to go in and add a XUnit test project. Let's call this XUnit. Okay, should remember to click, right? Okay, so I'm not going to add in the test, anything right now. I just want to show you the building and running process of it, but we'll actually run this NUnit test on DevOps, and I'll show you how that looks like. So just to prove to everyone that, hey, everything is possible. So let's quickly look at what we have here. So now we only used to have the unit test project, but I've now pulled in all our other friendly test projects in here, right? So let's start with the unit test project. So this is what I was talking about. Let's come in and do .NET Test, right? And they found a test file. So there you go. There's one failure of the test, two tests that pass. That makes sense because this was the failed test and we can see what the problem was in line number what, correct? You must be asking me, hey, Swiki, you have this beautiful little test explorer here. Why are you still doing this from command line? Excellent question, friend. The reason I'm doing this in command line is if you notice in the DevOps files, a lot of the code is doing it via these command line things. So it's a good sort of practice to get comfortable with how to run, building your solution and running your tests and running your solution from the command line. You don't have to do this as part of your day-to-day, but it's good to understand what like your IDE does in the background for you, all the magic that it does. So when it comes to like sort of debugging or setting up a DevOps pipeline, you are in control of, how you get your project to, build and how you get the project to run. Also, it's all in .NET Test now. So again, you guys are not going to believe me. So watch this, right? So let's go back to what we had. So we have MS Test and XUnit. So let me go to the MS Test project now, okay? And then I'm going to do .NET Test again. So you think it's not going to work? It is going to work. It's found the pattern. It's found the test. This is our MS Test project DLL. Amazing, isn't it? Let me go back. You must be like, hey, there's no way I learned this one way to set up DevOps thing for tests and it's going to work for everything. It is actually going to work with everything. Same process. So I'm going to go .NET Test again. And this is our XUnit now project. Again, same thing. So I didn't like I said, the .NET CLI is so powerful now. We're doing everything within that CLI. So why rock the boat? So like I said, don't be afraid to add tests. Add your tests. Test every part of your project. Make your code resilient, right? And don't be afraid. It's like, hey, how am I going to do DevOps stuff for this now? Like I said, it's very, very simple now. It's all basically all part of the .NET CLI tool. So, okay, so where do we go? So let's go back. for now, for the DevOps portion, we're going to ignore this MS test and XUnit because, like I said, I'm going to show you how to run the NUnit tests. It's the same process for both of them because as long as .NET test runs and we're able to get those test results, that's all we really care about for the purposes of DevOps. So for the unit test, what I've done is I have now gone in and updated my pipelines. So to update the pipelines, we're going to add 2 new tasks. And again, right now, this is building and running the tests in a different task. I like to build and run my unit tests as a different task. So then, I can place it in different parts of the DevOps pipeline. You can put conditionals on it, like, hey, if only these tests run, then maybe do a release. Or, hey, if only these tests runs, you can throw in some GitHub, API magic and maybe open an issue, close an issue. There's so many, it's a lot more powerful if you keep this as a separate block as part of your DevOps pipeline. So what was I? So yes, so we are here. We're talking about building and running the test. We have the test logger in here. It's come up. Give me 1 second. Okay, let's try to get rid of this. Okay, so then now that we have all of this set up, so this is, like I said, I'm doing a .NET build again, but again, you can totally just do .NET test straight up and it's going to figure it out. So we're back to looking at this logger over here. The reason we need to have this logger is this is all to do with how you want to report your test. So here you have a few options. You can totally just be like, hey, I am gonna, so it's like, hey, it's gonna be just like, hey, are you gonna sort of publish this result as part of your build summary in your DevOps pipeline? So here, when I say DevOps pipeline, like, do you want to publish it as part of your GitHub DevOps, GitHub Action Summary? Do you want to publish it as part of your Azure DevOps Summary? You may not even want to do that. Maybe you just want to report it and maybe upload it to some other reporting system that you're using. This is where the logger command comes in handy. You can look at the .NET test documentation. There's a lot of different other supported, test log types that you can use for this, which is pretty great. So what I'm doing is I'm putting this out in the TRX format, and then for GitHub Actions, I found this community action, which is really great. It's called test report. And what it does is, so this little conditional is very important to have here, because suppose you have a test failure, by default, the pipeline will stop running anything after it because it sees that as a failure. But we want to still publish the test report regardless if it was success or failure, because we want to see what the test failed on, like what was the report, what was the problem. So throw this little line in, so it makes sure to run this test report step every time. And next thing, so all you have to do is you put the path to where the test result goes to, and the reporter type. So you want to put in the format of the test result. So I like this task because it's a community built GitHub action task, and it actually supports a lot of different types. And .NET TRX is one of its sort of out of the box supported types. So that's why I sort of hooked this up with for the pipeline to pull up the test report. So we'll look at that pipeline in a second. Let me show you what we do on Azure DevOps. So for Azure DevOps, the same running and building the test stays the same. So this is what I was talking about, the power of understanding how to make sure that, understanding how stuff runs on a command line tool, because it looks a little scary, but it's really good information to have, because now you can come in and configure your DevOps pipelines, right? You feel a lot more confident about it. And if there's a problem, you can debug it because you run those same commands on your machine to see, hey, why is it working or why is it not working? So for Azure DevOps, there is a built-in Azure DevOps task that's called publish test results. Super easy. Again, I like to throw in the condition that it runs always. So if there's a test failure, it's still going to run this task and publish, your test results. And again, I just give it the path, you give it what name you want it to be called, and it handles it. So we saw this for how to do it on Mac and for the Mac agents in GitHub Actions and in Azure DevOps. Let's look at what it would look like for the same tasks in Windows. It's the same. As I mentioned, it's like I said, the .NET CLI tool is amazing. It's super powerful. So you're not having to learn different syntaxes, different tooling, nothing. It's literally the exact same task setup. Looking over here, .NET build. So we run the .NET tests and we publish the test results. Same thing. So these are the updates we would make. So we've added the build and run test task. We've put in a task to publish the test results. What does this translate to in actually running the test? So let's take a look, right? So this is what it looks like on GitHub Actions. So this is like this test summary that gets generated using the task, the community task that I was talking about. It gives you how many tests passed or failed. You can see here, it gives a beautiful little summary. And if I click into this, I can go actually look at the test result and see what exactly was the test failure. I really liked this test. I like the summary. I like the way they present it. Very easy to understand. And it goes green, it goes red based on if your tests pass or fail. On Azure Pipeline, this must look pretty familiar to everyone. If you've been doing a lot of unit testing in Azure DevOps, it's the test summary tab. It's come up here. So this is the name I put in. So my services test, and you can see it's pulled in the test failure, put in how many tests pass, how many tests fail. So this is kind of familiar to people who've been using Azure DevOps. Same way, you can just hook it up the same way. So my build summary is here, and my tests are in here. So now we've gone ahead and not only run and build our tests, but we also have it publishing as part of our DevOps pipeline in the summary. So let's sort of recap what we did. So running the test, we use the .NET command. It's just a regular task. You go .NET test. What's important and which was different in each of the pipelines was reporting. So in reporting for GitHub Actions, like I said, we're using a community task. And for Azure DevOps, we're using the inbuilt publish test result task. And again, I have links to both. Also in GitHub Actions, if you search the marketplace, there's actually a bunch of different, GitHub Actions that help you do test reporting. So if this isn't something that you like, I'm pretty sure there's another different test reporter that you can find and use. So again, pick what you like, pick what you understand best, and what works best for your use case. All right. So like I've been saying, pretty short talk. I just wanted to give you all like a quick sort of recap. Give David a quick recap. Like, hey, this is how you should have actually added in some DevOps into your sample app. And I'll go add in that PR for David once I'm done with this. But again, these are all the resources. If you're just curious about, hey, what is Azure DevOps? What is GitHub Actions? But also the actions and the test reporter for both GitHub Actions and Azure DevOps. And we have also the main blog post that I was talking about. I explain everything that I was just talking about, the whole pipeline setup process in complete detail with links to the runs, all of it in the resources. So thanks for joining, and I am here to answer questions and answer any other DevOps related questions, test related questions, what have you.